Okay, thank you, Minister. Deputy Crowe is not here. Senator Dolan, followed by Deputy Aon O'Riordan.
Great. Thank you very much, Chair, and welcome to Minister Simon Harris and the team here as well from the Department, our brand new Department of Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science. And it's absolutely fantastic that we have this department that's driving, I suppose, the change and the legislation that Higher Education Act yes, will and is a groundbreaking piece of legislation that's really going to drive funding in the third level sector. Minister, it's great to see your update, a very detailed update that you've given us here. And I suppose also to pay tribute, I suppose, just in the budget in terms of the reduction in the registration fee, that €1,000, extremely welcome. And I know like deadlines there have been given in terms of when parents or students have to engage with their colleges around giving their account details and so on by the end of November. Also that the SUSI application timeline is the 3rd of November. And I suppose just to highlight to any students that do need to apply to that the 3rd of November is the deadline, I think, on that. And Minister, I know you're looking at a review of that scheme as well, and the double payment, hopefully that's coming in December. Minister, there was a really great event I was at in Ballinasloe on Tuesday, the TUS, the brand new Technological University of the Shannon in Athlone, the campus there. They are doing learning gates, and I wasn't exactly sure what a learning gate was, but a learning gate is where students can come together and have a space to learn in where is the Ballinasloe Area Community Development, which is a meeting room space where students can access courses online, be able to study, and I suppose in an environment where other students are able to meet as well. They're looking at opening up over, I think, 11 of these in the next couple of weeks. They're even going to consider opening one in Dublin. So I just think that it's absolutely phenomenal that we're seeing this outreach. I suppose for me, Minister, I want to see campuses, centres of excellence in our region, particularly in Roscommon and East Galway, because that drives investment, regional investment in our areas, and it also drives excellence in academia, and it engages, I suppose, and shows that there is a focus, because we need to see how investment is also in our regions as well as in our city centre locations, and I suppose working with different agencies in local areas to do that. So I suppose I'm very interested in your thoughts maybe about that regional development and how TUS has been able to do that, the technological universities. Just around the PhDs, again, fantastic to see this. It's, having worked in Science Foundation Ireland, I'm very aware of the challenges around, I suppose, supporting PhD students and masters. So I suppose maybe just a little bit around the timeline. You've given us a little bit of engagement there about sort of the what it will look at. I mean, you're looking at the status of PhD, the stipends itself, and of course, there's been the €500 in the budget, international comparisons, potentially maybe just a timeline. And is there a country out there that you'd say is the country to look at when it comes to how they do it best in terms of PhDs? And of course, you're looking at the quality that we have as well. Ireland ranks so high in so many sectors and research areas in terms of expertise through its principal investigators. And those principal investigators drive the funding that comes through SFI and IRC and then brings those PhD teams here in Ireland and delivers and develops that excellence here. I suppose just the other things to mention, just student accommodation. Again, you've highlighted this as being one of the key major priorities for your department, a dedicated unit. I suppose I was delighted to hear, of course, around Dunlan in the brand new University of Galway when you were there, Minister, around the 674-bed development. And again, just the timelines on that, perhaps, that you might be able to mention. And then finally, really good to hear the funding that you're looking at. I suppose that the future funding, you've said the implementation team has been put together. Is there maybe where, again, you might be able to update us on an outcome from that? And then just really happy to see the co-design with FET and HE. I do have a few questions maybe around ETBs, how the department here funds SOLAS, which of course delivers FET and ETBs, but then of course the Department of Education funds the administration and running of those organisations. I suppose, would you have any comments on that? Because I just know that this sometimes can be a challenge in how we develop capacity, which you spoke about, is so crucial, staffing capacity to be able to deliver these courses, particularly around the FET and HE side of things. Gurmagad.
Minister.
You covered a lot of ground there, Senator Dolan. So bear with me. Thank you for working with me on the HEA Act. Very much enjoyed your input and appreciated it. I am pleased that we've managed to reduce the student contribution fee by €1,000 on a once-off basis. I'm equally proud, though, if not even more so proud, that we've actually managed to come up with a proper structure to look at the issue of registration fees and grants in the round from next year. And Senator Byrne and I would have debated this point at different times, but I actually think where we've landed on this, I actually think is a really good thing, because what we've done is we've said it's €1,000 this year for everybody. That's a cost of living measure, like many cost of living measures. It's universal and it'll be paid before the end of the year. 94,000 students will benefit. But actually from next year, we've made a permanent reduction of €500, but we've linked it to the SUSI system. So we've put in an income threshold of 100,000 and a reduction of €500. That gives myself in future budgets, any future ministers, any future governments, the ability now to look at the registration fee as part of the overall grant system. And I think that's quite a good way. So you're not having separate conversations. Is it SUSI? Is it registration fee? You're looking at the system and the structure, I think, in terms of cost of education. We'll also get to publish. This was one of the good things, I think, to come out of the Funding Our Future paper, recommended by one of my officials. I think it was a really good idea that we'd actually publish an annual cost of education or cost of higher education paper in advance of the budget. So they've done this in social protection for years. They do it with tax, they do it with welfare papers. We'd kind of, I don't mean being forgotten, but we weren't up in lights in advance of the budget. This means every year the Oireachtas, the media, the stakeholders, everyone gets to see, debate and consider what could be done to help reduce the cost of education. How much would it cost, and what are the best choices? And I think that can only be good. SUSI, pleased that there will be the double payment on the 16th of December. I think that will come at a very welcome time for many families, and crucially that the SUSI grants will then rise by between 10 and 14% from January. Last year and most years when SUSI grants rise, you have to wait till the next college year. They'll rise from January, which I think is important considering the pressure people are feeling. Very interested in learning more about the learning gates, and maybe going to see some. I think it's a great idea. The technological universities at their core are about regional development. I mean, they're about bringing access to education into the regions. They're about moving beyond the outdated concept that all roads from an educational point of view must lead to a big city. We have had a lot of success as a country in the last couple of years in setting up technological universities. I thank the committee for their work on this. The next three things I think we need to do: capital, like actually investing in the facilities, badly needed. We'll have an announcement end of this month, start of next month, around pretty significant capital funding for technological universities. Many of them have applied. That will come very shortly. Research, making sure there are research-intensive institutions. Looking forward to the ring-fenced funding for the TUs that will come through the European Regional Development Fund. I think it's a fund of around €80 million regarding that. And then the third, which is a meaty piece of work, a lot of work going on in my department, a lot of work going on with the OECD, is around the contract, academic contracts. And again, this isn't about foisting something on people. It's about actually engaging and offering a contract so people can, so these TUs can reach their full potential. So they're the three big, now that they're set up, I think they're the three big things that are important. PhD review, I mean, the timeline is it'll kick off this month. Sorry, it won't. It'll kick off in November. We're only in October. It'll kick off in November, and it will conclude in early 2023. And I'll announce. Need to talk to them first, but I'll announce the external chair or chairs of that, hopefully by the end of the week, certainly in the next week or so. The 674 beds in Galway, my understanding, I had a chance to view the site when I was down in Galway with you for the renaming of the University of Galway. Yes. My understanding is the construction of them is due to be completed in January. There's then the fit-out process and all of that, so they'll be on stream for the next academic year. The membership of the implementation group is quite broad, but it obviously contains Solace, the head of Solace, the head of QQI, the head of the IUA, president of the Students' Union, General Secretary of ICTU, and I might take the opportunity to pay tribute to Patricia King on her retirement, representatives of the Department of Enterprise, head of AINTOS, representatives of the HEA, the Department of Education, my own department, IBEC, and also obviously myself and the two co-chairs, Professor Tom Collins and Professor Anne Looney. I think I've covered off the questions.
Fantastic. That's a future funding. Thank you.